Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm so happy you're with us today. My friends, in the world of afterlife research, there are some truly great unsung heroes that we like to share with you as guests on Seek Reality whenever we can, because they're doing indispensable work in saving the best evidence of human survival of physical death that was produced by physical mediums who lived and performed during the heyday of physical mediumship. These modern servants are doing wonderful work in preserving what would otherwise be lost for our education and our delight, and also for the edification of generations far into the future. And perhaps foremost, certainly among the foremost of these unsung but immensely important heroes, is N. Riley Heagerty. For 35 years, Riley has been researching and writing about some truly great physical mediums, including he wrote The French Revelation about the amazing independent voice medium Emily French, and Portraits from Beyond about the Bang sisters who precipitated spiritist portraits and did independent writing. He wrote The Direct Voice about the medium Elizabeth Blake, and Spectral Evidence Volumes 1 and 2, oh, I love that, which are great compilations of mind-blowing mediumistic events that happened during the heyday of spiritualism. That was 100 or more years ago now, and his 8th book was The Phenomena of Spirit Materialization, the Transcendent Wonder of the Ages. He's good at titles. The most glorious and staggering eyewitness accounts ever recorded of spirits returning from the afterlife. Wow, that's a mouthful title. And it's even illustrated. Riley Heagerty has also sat with most of the current internationally known physical mediums, and there are very few of them. His wife, Caroline, is a practicing clairvoyant medium who herself has numerous clients. And I think this is his 9th book. I'm trying to count. If I'm counting correctly, his 9th book is called Etta Wreight. It's about, this is the short title, it's about an extraordinary physical medium who is obscure now, but she was quite famous at the end of the 19th and the early part of the 20th century. This is Riley's 8th appearance on Seek Reality. I always love it when he comes. He will need to appear by phone, but I assure you he is actually quite a handsome guy. Riley, welcome. I am so happy to have you back with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I appreciate it very much. This latest book is my 10th book, actually.
Oh, it's your 10th? Yeah, as I say, it's hard to keep count. But well, I'm counting as one book, the 2 volumes. I should have counted that as 2. Well,
oh, no problem.
You're always busy. You really are always writing and researching, and you really dig in. I think that's what a lot of people don't really have the patience to do. I did a lot of research 50 plus years ago in the old stuff, and it is hard to pull it all together.
I know. You just have to stay with it. It's just the way that it is. You have to stay on the trail and not give up. And in my case, I suffered a very severe loss of a fiancé back in 1985, and it was at the height of my musical career, and the shock of it just took me away from the music business, and I just said I'm dedicating the rest of my life just on my own personal journey to find the answer to life after death, because I had nothing. I had really no one to help me. I was on my own. And here we are 35 years later and 10 published books. So I stayed with it. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful journey. And I'm still going strong.
I remember that story. Yeah, that you lost your great love, and this became your great love then for a while. And
well, you know what? That happens to people.
Yeah.
You know, people, you can either go along the rest of your life and carry your grief on your back like a backpack. In my case, the person I knew was so lively and so full of happiness and energy and fun and intelligence. I just couldn't get my head around that she could just disappear like a cloud of smoke.
Yeah.
I said, well, nature can't be that cruel. So I just went in search of the answers, and I found them. I found what I was looking for. And in the case of the latest book, here's what I mean by staying with research. 6 years into my research, I knew very well who Etta Wreight was, the subject of this latest book.
Yeah.
A phenomenal direct voice medium who lived in Detroit. But 6 years in, I found a 1927 copy of Hartman's Who's Who in Occult and Psychical History. And sure enough, Etta Wreight was born in my hometown, right here in where I live right now. Etta Wreight was born in 1862 over on West 8th Street. I mean, that's one of the gifts of research.
Yeah,
She was
wow.
born right here in my town.
Yeah, it is a small world, isn't it? You really discover how small it is. Yeah, quite amazing.
Yeah, but if I gave up, though, I would never have found out. I would never have found out that she was from here, and it confirms once again, since I live right on the Great Lake, Ontario. I have already outlined in my second book, the one you mentioned earlier, called Portraits from Beyond, about the Bang sisters from Chicago. In the appendices of that book, there is a section called The Spirit Zone of the Northeast. And I have outlined a staggering amount of the most powerful and famous physical mediums from spiritualism were all from around the Great Lake regions.
Yeah.
And sure enough, Etta Wreight, of course, was born here in Oswego. The northern part of our town, the literal northern part, is Lake Ontario. I can see it from my home. So once again, we have another powerful medium born in the Great Lake region. And the spirits have said that the dry, crisp atmosphere and the powerful electrical energy provides the perfect opportunity for physical manifestations. So here we have again Etta Wreight. And she moved to Ohio in 1886 when she was 24 years old. She was a housemaid. Can you imagine that? Little did the people know who hired her to be a housemaid that one of the wonders of the world was making their beds and cleaning their house.
Good heavens.
So she got married to Philip Knapp on August 1st, 1889 in Montgomery, Ohio. And she was 27 years old when she got married. She was widowed from Philip in 1930 after 40 years of marriage. And then Etta, at her home on Baldwin Avenue in Detroit, she passed away in 1942. She was 80 years old. And she was world famous. And her seances, as reported in this book, are just mind-staggering. And I'm very honored to have finally published a book about her.
You know, she's a trumpet medium. Can you explain to people what a trumpet medium is?
Trumpet medium is also known as direct voice. What it is basically independent voice where the spirits are talking out of the thin air. Only, in her case, a lot of the spirits used the trumpet, which was about a 2-foot long, very light aluminum megaphone. It's a classic piece in Victorian spiritualism. It's like a megaphone. It hovers in the air, levitates and hovers in the air, and some spirits use it to amplify their voice. or they can use the enclosed space as a little cabinet to manifest themselves. But with Etta Wreight, it was both. She had independent voice and trumpet mediumship and etherealizations. You could see the spirits. They're sort of a flimsy, they're translucent. You could see basically through them. But very prominent in her seances were etherealizations. And there were some physical phenomena. But she practiced for years and years and years. And mostly at Baldwin Avenue, although she was invited to Europe, where she was the toast of the town for many of the high society types.
It's amazing. But
it is.
To be clear about the trumpet, it's like hovering in the air, and it's not her body producing these sounds. They appear out of the trumpet. And I mean, I was reading, I did read the book, and I of course read about this phenomenon elsewhere as well. And the bodies would materialize in the room or semi-materialize in the room as well.
That's etherealization, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, the trumpet, it's one of the most historic aspects of early spiritualism. There were many famous trumpet mediums.
Yeah.
But in my first book, The French Revelation, about Emily French, she required no trumpet, and she was not in trance. All it would take was just to turn the lights out, and the spirits would talk about, 3 to 4 feet above her head out of the thin air.
Yes.
To me, it's the crown jewel of mediumship is independent voice, where there's no trumpets involved, no megaphones, none of that. But
Leslie Flint did that too. The voices would
Leslie Flint was independent voice. That's right. There have been many throughout spiritualism's history, but with spiritualism, you have to realize that there's no spiritualism movement anymore.
Right.
I compare it to like the Beatles. The Beatles came, they had their heyday, they certainly left their mark, and their music and their legacy will live on forever. Spiritualism, the heyday of which I put between 1848 and around 1960, it also came, it went, and its legacy endures. But the work to bring it to the surface, since it is part of our history, it takes more work than the Beatles. I mean, the Beatles is not hard to sell, but spiritualism is.
Okay, but sir, let's talk for a moment about why. Because if this is something that was possible, and we know it was not just possible, it was almost common during that period of time. It happened and it was glorious. It was almost common. I mean, I have some theories about why.
Almost every family had a medium.
Yes. And either if it happened now, Riley, there would be not a person in this world who didn't know the truth about the fact that our minds are eternal.
But that could be part of the problem, is that my theory, and I think it's a worthwhile theory after 35 years, is that the spirits knew full well back in the heyday of spiritualism what was coming up ahead. They knew the siege of materialism was coming. And I think personally, they also knew that sooner or later, here comes the cell phone towers, here comes social media, all of it. TikTok, they knew something was coming that would destroy I don't know. Everybody's distracted now. Back in the heyday of spiritualism, the family circle was very, very spiritual. It was a holy event. And there was no TVs, no cell phones, no one secretly taping the seance. There was none of that need to be famous overnight. None of that happened. So the conditions were altogether different than they are now. Now, social media, even though it has its pluses, just like the internet, my wife and I have this secret theory that we don't seem to have been advanced enough as a species to handle social media because it's all over the place. Now it's just, I can see why no medium would want anything to do with it.
And
Why would they?
I think you're right. I think that the advent of entertainment was a big problem for all of this, because in the middle of the 19th century, we had no way to entertain ourselves in the evening, and they used to get together. We had they didn't even have electricity until the middle to latter part of the 19th century. So they would get together, have dinner, and then they would entertain themselves by candlelight. And they would do table tipping and there would always be somebody, at least one person at the table, who developed psychic abilities. And that's how they were able to do table tipping and ask the table questions and it would answer. And they gradually developed some very good mediums in the evening by doing these things. And so that's how it all sort of started in the first half of the 19th century. And some of those people became very good mediums. And I think that's how it started. But the fact that they didn't have even radio made it so that they didn't have other ways to entertain themselves. And I think that's how it began.
Well, there was no distractions. See,
there were no distractions, and this was a great way to entertain themselves. And some of those people became very, very good mediums. And
certainly. Now,
why?
Now you have if let's just say the wrong person found out you were having a seance, and they could. They could instigate violence, and these days you don't know who's on the internet. Someone's name could be dragged through the mud, and the anti-spiritualists could come out of the woodwork. They'd be literally taking your life in your hands if you weren't careful in these modern times, as far as spirits and seances. A lot of people just don't understand what they are.
Negativity enters the picture now. Yeah. But even just
certainly.
The fact that you've got other ways to entertain yourself, that it takes really a long time to develop mediumistic powers, and people just don't want to spend all that much time in the dark. Night after
it would take you 15 to 20 years.
Yes.
Of sitting.
Greg Hogan.
And you know what? It's hard to find
mediums. People. It took him decades to do it. And people willing to be developed as mediums, it takes them a long time too.
I know. And just trying to find the people.
Yeah.
To gather together once a week to do anything.
Yes.
Is now it's almost impossible because.
Yes.
I don't know. The sacredness of mediumship is important to me, and its history, of course, as you know, I hold in my heart because it was part of our history. I don't care who wants to believe it or not; it's just true. And as Professor Chalice, he was a mid-19th century physicist and astronomer. Professor Chalice says, if you question the validity of these spiritualist phenomena witnessed by people of scientific mind and such probity of thought and their intelligence, if you question their eyewitness reports and all testimonies, all human testimony has to be questioned. I don't care what the subject is. Why would you question someone, a vice admiral of the British Navy, Admiral Osborne Moore, his eyewitness accounts of what he saw, or, oh my God, the list goes on and on and on. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, people that were knighted by the British Empire for their abilities. Here is their eyewitness accounts of what they witnessed themselves. And then what do you question that? Alfred Russel Wallace, the co-discoverer of evolution, what he had to say, his own eyewitness accounts. If you question that, then you have to question everything, not just spiritualism.
But the point is they didn't see it. That's just the problem, because extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, and some of the things that these people saw are pretty extraordinary. But that's a problem. But there's also the fact that we just don't develop. There are very few physical mediums developed to the extent that these people developed, just because people are not going to sit for 20 years developing their abilities. Now, if they were willing to do it, if enough people were willing to do it, so we had physical mediums with that quality of development nowadays, be a different situation. We just haven't. We don't have that willingness to develop themselves to that extent. We just don't have those people now.
But it probably wouldn't have happened even back in the heyday of spiritualism if there were all of these things getting your attention otherwise.
Absolutely right. Totally right.
They just did not have those kind of intrusions. They did not have internet or
radio,
TV or cell phones, radio, nothing.
That's right.
Like you were saying, they had their lit in the sacred meeting place after dinner, the candles lit, sit around the table, and anybody could be a medium. I mean,
the women would go to the parlor and do that while the men smoked their cigars. That's what they did.
Right.
That's right.
Children mediums, extraordinary children mediums that, the parents, of course, had to be sympathetic.
That's right.
A lot of childhood mediums back then were consigned to lunatic asylums because they thought they were possessed by the devil, because the parents were so, fanatical, religious. But a lot of young mediums, thank goodness they had the parents behind them, like the Bang sisters, Emily French, all these mediums. I only wish that I could have found out more about my latest book here, Etta Wreidt, her personal life, like how she initially discovered that the voices were manifesting in her presence. So little is written about the actual life of the great mediums. Nobody wrote down too much. Some people did, but a lot of people did not have biographers sitting around, and and a lot of the mediums were illiterate. But that's the value of research. You have to keep at it and find what you can. I had all kinds of people, historians from the library, all kinds of archival people helping me, people in England, trying to find information about Etta Wreidt. And I found out a good deal. I found out much more than I had before.
I was surprised. You did find out a good deal. Another person who does this work is Michael Tim, Tymn.
Oh, yes.
I tried to get him on to come on more, but he is reached a fairly advanced age now, and he's in Hawaii, so the time just doesn't work out well for him.
He's one of the greatest writers.
He has done a wonderful job with this kind of book as well. But you and he just are two. You're really doing a wonderful service, both of you, with this kind of book.
I just think it should be. I am not a propagandist for spiritualism, but I have my own personal beliefs. And if you were to ask me about that, I would say I'm 100% spiritualist. But it doesn't matter to me who believes it or not. I'm not saying here's what you have to believe. I'm saying the fact that I've put 30 plus years into the research should be a compliment to your discernment of the facts. Then a person can make up their own mind if they have the facts in front of them. I'm not saying they have to believe. I'm saying here are the facts, at least. You can make up your own mind. That's fair enough.
Oh, but your books are so joyous. It's clear that you loved finding all this old information and you put it together, and your books are, your books read so they're fun to read. They're like candy because you found all this stuff and you enjoyed finding it. It's fun, wonderful.
Well, you know what?
Your books.
In the first stages of my research, after losing my fiance, who was 29, when I discovered Emily French, the independent voice medium from Rochester, and for 22 consecutive years, her and the famous Buffalo lawyer Edward C. Randall, they conducted seances for 22 consecutive years. It's unprecedented in psychical history. And Randall had the mental wherewithal to have stenographers and secretaries in the darkened seance room taking down word for word what the exchanges he was having with the spirits. But my point is this, is that because he had the stenographers take careful notes, the teachings of those notes, what the spirits said, literally saved my mind from grief.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of these books can do for others, especially if you've lost someone. It at least gives you a glimmer of hope. It does. It certainly did for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, they're fun to read. These books are fun to read, but I don't, because of course when I first found your books, I had long since convinced myself that of course we never die. We never die. You can't die. It's not possible to die. So I just found them as just enjoyable, and I wanted to share them with everybody because a lot of people are not as confident as I am in the truth. But I think they're just fun to read. And people love reading something that's fun, but it's also all good news. And from way back then, people knew all this stuff way back then. Wow, what could be better than that you have something like that to share with people? It's remarkable and wonderful.
I know, and I'm still at it. I have a wonderful library of rare books that I've collected over years, and this latest book, I'm doing a new one. It's going to be...
Talk about your new book.
Well, the one we're talking about today is called Etta Wreidt, W-R-I-E-D-T.
Yeah, it's funny spelling.
You could put my name and Riley Heagerty just in the search window of Amazon, in the book search window, or I've always said if you go to bookfinder.com, that's one of the best sites because it lists all your books and what country they're being sold in. So if you put my name in bookfinder.com or Amazon, you can find anything I have published. But I've decided to do one called Forever. That's the name of the book, and it's all going to be spirit teachings. It's not going to be involved with the phenomena, like direct voice. It's not going to be about the phenomena, the physical phenomena. It's going to be what the spirits actually said about their aspects of life, what they found in the spirit world, and what they thought of their physical life after they got to the spirit world, and just some of the great teachings, the very type of which saved me mentally after I lost that girl.
Yes.
And I think that others can benefit, even though, like you were saying earlier, a lot of people won't believe if they don't see it for themselves. There's nothing I can do about that because the chances are the majority of people will never be able to experience sitting with a great medium. It's a very rare occurrence. So at least you could study the eyewitness accounts of what the spirits said, because they would be saying the same teachings to you if you did find a true medium. they'd be saying the same thing.
Yep.
The fact that you will survive, positively survive death. They will be saying these things. They're not going to change the story. It's the same thing.
Have you heard from your girlfriend? Have you heard from her particularly?
I did in England in 1998 through the late medium Colin Fry. I was at a seance. We went to a seminar. I was one of the speakers. It was in Burton-on-Trent in England. And I couldn't say 100% because I accept nothing but positive scientific evidence. That's it. Nothing. Mm-hmm. I don't care who's offended by it. If I don't have 100% proof, I'm going to question what I'm hearing. Period. Okay. And that's the way everyone should be. And I'd say I would score the message, I'd give it about an 80 out of 100.
Okay.
Because, you know, any spirit can be an imposter, you know. Spirits can be sitting there listening to you having a conversation with someone, you know. But I thought it was her. But I have felt her in other ways. Through my own intuition, my own sense of, I've been at this for so long that I'm highly sensitive to energies that are in my space. So, yes, I've definitely felt her, and I felt many others too. And I have my own way of communicating, and I just carry on with what I do. But
you know you're going to see her again. You know when you graduate, there she'll be. I mean, we never die. Nobody ever dies.
Yeah, if it's meant to be, you know, we weren't together that long. We lived together for 3 years, but I knew her before I got together with her. But you know, if you have an affinity with anybody, the chances are you'll see these people in the afterlife. If you do not have an affinity, nature will not bring you together with someone you have no affinity with. I don't care who it is. It could be a husband and wife. If you are not affinities, you will not be together. Nature's laws are perfect in their operation. So if it's meant to be, I'll see her and whoever else, maybe ancestors, who knows? In my life in the spirit world, it's probably mostly the animals, because I put nature first. Nature and animals come
my
first.
My horse is waiting for me. Absolutely.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I have both my cats lying right here beside me. They're taking part in the meeting. But anyways.
Tell them I say hello. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the work continues, and it will. It'll keep going.
Well,
I always have ideas.
This would be a wonderful book. When will this book be released? Is it near completion or just early in the stages?
No, I'm only 1,500 words into it, but it takes a lot for the initial stages.
Right.
You know what you're going to do and compiling your references, and there's a lot to it.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot to it. So, and I've got my friend August Goforth. He's the author of the book, the incredible book called The Risen. He's going to he has formatted and helped me edit 8 out of 10 books. So he's going to be back on board.
Too. He really is a great, lovely guy.
Yeah, he's going to be on board again to format and do his masterful work. He's really incredible. And has he ever been on your show? You should have him on because he's.
Yes, and now that you put it in my mind, I think I will bring him back on because he was on but years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, you should get him. He's quite a person.
I'll get back in touch with him. He's adorable. He's a little eccentric, but he's adorable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a psychotherapist in New York City, so he knows who he is. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to keep going with my work.
Psychotherapist, and he was psychotherapizing me, which is what you never would want to do. All right. So that's, are you running out of interesting people from 150 years ago to write books about? Or are there more people that you can write about?
There's more mediums.
Yeah.
There's always more mediums, and there's always something to archive about that century. Like I've been trying to find Susan B. Anthony, who was one of the great champions for the suffragette movement.
Wow, yeah, that's true.
She gave some of her most fiery speeches at Lilydale, the famous spiritualist camp.
Yeah.
Not far from where I live. And I'm trying to find, did anybody take down notes on when she was talking? I mean, I would love to find, I'd like to do a book on the great women of the movement. Emma Harding Britton, Cora Richmond, and Susan B. Anthony, some of the great voices back then, besides the mediums, those who were there in the movement. I mean, I think it's astonishing that Susan B. Anthony, because of the free speech, and women were tired of this oppression. Not that they had hardly any rights, and something should be said about it. Within the spiritualist movement, I find it incredible and wonderful that Susan B. Anthony gave some of her greatest speeches there at a spiritualist camp. Because she knew she would have open minds there.
That there was a connection there. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. And I've been talking to the historian, Ron Nagy, who's another great author and historian. And he said it's going to be hard to find because there's no real records of Susan B. Anthony, her visits to Lilydale. So that's going to be a hard hill to climb, but I'm still going to look into it. I'm still going to put my research cap on, and go with it. What I've also discovered, my first book, The French Revolution, the trial lawyer Edward C. Randall, who was with Mrs. French for 22 years, I found an archive of his work at the University of Michigan.
Huh.
Which is an extraordinary find, and I'm going to have to go there. Give up their in the rare book libraries. They won't just give up their research. You have to prove yourself and go and spend some time there. So I'm going to have to go to that university, and I'm going to research that out. I think I may have another book coming, and Emily French and Edward C. Randall, which would be just wonderful. Wonderful. Wow. She's one of the heroes of my life.
Yeah.
Really, she is.
That would be great.
So we'll have to see what happens there. How about you? Are you going to keep writing?
Yeah, but I have to get myself free of all this teaching. I'm doing a lot with teaching spiritual matters. And I'm trying to kind of wrap that up. And because the greatest spiritual teacher who ever lived is Jesus, and people don't treat Jesus that way. And what I'm trying to do is understand what Jesus wants me to do with what I've discovered. And I'm in the middle of that right now. So
Good.
I sort of understand what I'm supposed to do next. I can't really do more writing, but I feel another book coming. So it's sort of like pregnancy. You have to wait until the baby's ready to be born. So that's the stage I'm in now.
When I hear talk of like the border and the people that are running for their lives from Mexico and the cartels, and the terrible situation at our border. I've said to some people that there are you're so violently against these poor people. We can't help everybody. Yes, it's true. But I said, if Jesus, who you believe in, was at the border, guess what he'd be doing? He would be carrying 10 of them on his back while he's pulling a wagon of 50 of them.
But I'm not sure that that's true. I mean, that's a conversation
to help them.
Have. But I'm not sure that's what he would be doing. It's more complicated.
What would he be doing? Who knows what he'd be doing? I mean,
because it's a political situation, and he abhorred.
Yeah, I know.
He never got involved in politics. I mean, he would be bringing them water. He would be
washing their feet.
Very complicated situation, but he would stay out of the politics.
I know. It's too bad. But anyways, I'm glad you're doing your work.
Yeah, but we have come to the end of our time. Believe it or not, we get involved in so many things. But the thing I want people to understand is these books are terrific, and the information they contain is so precious. If you and Michael Tim and a few others were not doing this work, it would be lost. And that would be a great, great tragedy. So I strongly recommend, just for entertainment, if people want to be entertained by amazing things, your books and Michael Tim's books are just so precious. They really are. They're very.
It's good to have them. It's good to have them be part of our history. I'm honored to do it.
No, that's. I mean, the gift that she gave you is the opportunity to do this work. But I think you're going to find she's very much in your life, and always will be.
That's great.
And
yep.
And she will be back in it again. What do you want people to take away from our conversation today?
That, as you and I both know, that the history of spiritualism and the great noble pioneers who gave of themselves to bring these great spiritual truths to the world, who were not seeking fame, fortune, money, none of it. They were just the vehicles by which these great spiritual truths that are pertinent to everyone, universally, they gave it to the world. And there's no reason why it should be lost in the dustbins of obscurity. So, if I'm doing a rescue mission, I am honored to do so, to bring this wonderful, wonderful historical knowledge to the surface. I'm honored to do it. And I'm honored to be on your show. I can't thank you enough for inviting me so many times.
Well, I just think what you're doing is so amazing. I give you so much credit for it. It is very, very difficult work. It's what you're saving is very precious. And this is the kind of information that convinced me finally, and I'm such a skeptic, but it finally convinced me, and nothing else could have convinced me, that we truly do live forever. So, my darling, consider yourself hugged, and we will, of course, have you back again.
Great.
And
wonderful
once
to be
again,
here.
my beloved friends, we've come to the end of our time. This has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm very glad you could be with us today. And please, please, never forget that you're a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. If you're hearing these words now, you are eternal by definition. And when you get that, when you really get what it means, you are going to change everything in your life for the better. And next week, our guest will be Peter Wreidt, who will be here, believe it or not, for a wonderful 20th time. Peter is a certified hypnotherapist based in beautiful Santa Barbara, California. He has more than 30 years of experience working with thousands of clients at this point, and he holds the distinction of being one of only 40 board-certified past life regression therapists in the whole United States. Quite a few of our listeners at this point have worked with him, and they tell me they love the results. In fact, when I emailed Peter this time and said, "Hey, Peter, remember me? Do you have time to visit with us on Seek Reality again?" He said, Funny you think of me today. I just today heard from someone who found me on a Seek Reality podcast, and he made an appointment to work with me. And this happened just today. So sure, I'd love to come back on Seek Reality again. And he was chuckling, just like I'm chuckling now. You're going to love Peter Wreidt. He's like a ray of sunshine every time you talk to him. So if you don't already know him, I think you're going to be delighted to join us next week. And this week, our guest has been Heagerty. He's been with us for the 8th time. And I had forgotten, but he reminded me again, this is a beautiful story. He started doing this work because he had to convince himself that the great love of his life could not possibly have died. And he ended up doing what I did, convincing himself by researching the great mediums of old. And he ended up making it his life's work to research these great physical mediums and their work before it disappeared forever. And he's been doing it now for more than 35 years. His books, the amazing books, Revelation, Spectral Evidence, volumes 1 and 2, which I just couldn't get enough of. These books are compilations of mind-blowing mediumistic stuff from the heyday of spiritualism, which is now more than a century into the past. And as he says, it ain't coming back, guys, because those, just like with the Beatles, everything came together just right, and it's never coming back. So that information, which he's compiling, and Michael Tim also is compiling, that information is very precious for us and for the future. It's essential work, and his books are a lot of fun to read. Frankly, they're a giggle, I think. He researches this amazing, these phenomena that are so precious. His new book is Etta Wreight. It's about an extraordinary physical medium. I'm reading it now. Haven't quite finished it. It's great. So follow N. Riley Heagerty with me. And as he says, you can find his books pretty easily on Amazon and elsewhere. And this work he's doing is really a gift to all of us. As you know, our great friend Craig Hogan is the president of Seek Reality Online, and this information he is compiling in one place so that when you are ready to really, really convince yourself that your life is eternal, go there. I can't believe what he has done with this website that I started and then couldn't deal with. So he took it over and he's made it glorious. Your own reality really is eternal, whether you like it or not. So learn the ultimate truth from our dear friend Craig, who is your worldwide ultimate expert on all things afterlife. Teachingsbyjesus.com is your single resource for all the beautiful divine truths that are brought to us in perfect love by the greatest teacher of them all, who is Master Jesus. Now it really is his turn. He didn't start Christianity, the religion that was created by the Roman Emperor Constantine. He destroyed the movement that Jesus started. Now that that religion, which he didn't start, is finally dying, Jesus, who is the genuine, real deal, when now Jesus can finally teach us the truth. Teachingsbyjesus.com is the website that he asked us to begin to make his teachings finally come alive, so you can find him there. As you know, I have some books that I wrote, but there's no time to talk about them. The most recent one is, of course, The Fun of Meeting Jesus, and that's the one that he asked me to write for him. Also, there's Liberating Jesus, which he channeled. But you can find all my books on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, and all of them but the last are available as audiobooks. If you want to talk to me about anything at all, you can just go to the green contact block on RobertaGrimes.com. I answer every email provided that you give me your correct address. Sometimes people give me the wrong address. I write a nice long email and it bounces, and that ruins my day, so please don't do that to me. All of the more than 500 past episodes of Seek Reality are available wherever audio podcasts can be found. And you can see the video episodes each week on Roku or Fire Stick, YouTube, and elsewhere. And meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and please make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being, and most of all in this entire universe, you are infinitely, perfectly, and eternally loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.